Greetings. My name is Darren Suprina. I'm an engineer at Stonesoft, and I'm going to introduce you today to the Stonesoft solutions, what we have to offer for the IT community in terms of keeping your site, your services, your businesses safe from attack and malware. Stonesoft is a company that was founded in 1990, headquartered out of Helsinki, Finland, and has been one of Europe's leading providers of security software, that is perimeter security software, for a number of years. Relatively new to the United States, Stonesoft was founded in 1990, headquartered out of Helsinki, Finland. The company's focus has been on providing security solutions for firewall, IPS, and remote access services. What makes this company particularly interesting, or should make this company interesting to those who are seeking IT security solutions, is that it's an R&D company. More than half of our internal resources are focused on improving the state of the art when it comes to IT security. With over 200 employees spread across the globe, Stonesoft has a tremendous reach and has reached into Fortune 100 firms on a global basis. Another interesting aspect of our particular technology solutions is that they're particularly strong. And with a retention rate of better than 95% of our customer base, that speaks of the confidence our customers have placed in our solution and our ability to innovate and grow our capabilities to match the ever-evolving cyber threats that face all of us. The product range, the product scope that Stonesoft offers encompasses four principal areas that I'd like you to understand. First and foremost, we have our management console. The management console offers a single pane of glass into the world of security, the world of firewalls, IPS services, and remote access, that is SSL VPN remote access. The Stonesoft Management Center is, in essence, a single pane of glass that can be made highly available to provide those management capabilities. Up to 5 Stonesoft Management Centers can actually be clustered in an active standby arrangement, and this enables one to ensure that the management of critical perimeter security systems remains in force, irrespective of whether or not your primary or even secondary or tertiary sites are unavailable. Stonesoft's Firewall VPN product is a market leader in that it offers both horizontal and vertical scalability and offers protections against advanced forms of attacks called advanced evasions, which we'll go into shortly. The security solutions from Stonesoft can be generally lumped into 4 distinct categories: our management center, our firewall, IPS, and SSL VPN offerings. The Stonesoft Management Center represents the core, the management center from which all other security services are provided. The management center offers a single pane of glass and provides management capabilities for up to 2,000 appliances, such as firewalls and IPS devices. The management center can be clustered, and up to 5 systems may be clustered in an active standby arrangement. And this ensures that even if your primary or secondary or even tertiary sites should find themselves offline, you'll continue to be able to manage your firewall and IPS, that is your endpoint security solutions. The management center is also installable on either Windows Server or Linux environments, meaning that you have a broad scope, a broad possibilities in terms of where that platform can be installed and on what platforms it can be made operational. Stonesoft's Firewall VPN package offers, of course, traditional stateful and stateless firewall services along with IPsec VPN capabilities. This service is configurable in active standby and active configurations, and up to 16 appliances can be clustered together, providing great horizontal scalability. In addition, the product has significant internal scalability. Many of the firewall offerings have add-on slots, into which additional functionality, additional networking capabilities, such as gigabit Ethernet, 10 gig Ethernet, and fiber interfaces can be installed. Plus, the firewalls have great vertical scalability in that they come in a variety of different appliance sizes for a variety of uses, be it ranging from SOHO, small office, small remote business office, all the way on up to large enterprise sites. And again, up to 16 of these may be clustered together in an active format, ensuring not only that the firewall services remain highly available, but that sessions are not dropped in the event that there is a failure of a device or the connectivity to it. Stonesoft's IPS line has similar horizontal and vertical scalability. The practical upside of our IPS system is that because it works in a failed open format, in the event that there is an inconsistency in rules, the system becomes unavailable, for instance, due to a power hit or other interruptions in its ability to be able to deliver service, traffic will continue to be passed. In addition to firewall and IPS services, Stonesoft also offers an SSL VPN standalone appliance functionality. And this is particularly noteworthy because it's more than just remote access. Our SSL VPN product isn't just a VPN capability, but it's a full-up multi-tenant portal which allows for users to be granted remote access to functionality that an organization may wish to offer. Such functionality as access to websites, applications, remote file shares, and the like can all be managed through a single portal. We even have 3270 and 5250 capability support for those who have legacy environments. An interesting aspect of the SSL VPN product is that as a multi-tenant solution, it can provide remote access to a number of user domains, be it different departments or different users for those folks who are MSSP providers. The SSL VPN product family is also able to provide single sign-on services so that a user need only authenticate themselves using a variety of single and multi-factor authentication methods, all of which may be chained together to the SSL VPN engine, at which point then the user is granted appropriate access to the resources they're permitted to use. In essence, the SSL VPN product is an engine that supports the identification, that is the authentication of a user based on whatever credentials or criteria you may desire, authorizes that user to use certain resources, and then grants access to those users in a single sign-on format. The ability to be able to detect what platform a user is coming in on, what operating system they're running on, and for mobile devices, whether or not those devices are up to date or have been rooted, and where devices are being used from. That is, an employee would say, or an iPad or iPhone. Where are they coming from? Are they within the bounds of the corporate office, within the bounds of the city where one would expect them to be, or perhaps being overseas? Where they are, that judgment can then be factored into what resources they are given access to and what resources they're denied. So the SSL VPN product represents a major leap forward in the ability to control user access. Coupled together with the IPS line to provide deep inspection and the firewall line to provide clear and consistent filtering across an organization of inbound and outbound streams, and managed together with the Stonesoft Management Center, Stonesoft provides a complete perimeter security system that is not only adaptive to a user's needs, not only easy to manage through a single pane of glass, but is also able to handle the advanced sort of attacks, which we'll call evasions, which currently are plaguing the IT industry. Stonesoft is a leader in research with regard to advanced evasions. So let me describe to you what an evasion is, and we'll take this step by step. An evasion is the ability to apply a disguise against an IP, that is a network protocol stream. A disguise might feature, for instance, the modification of a packet header or the sending of data streams out of order. There are a variety of different forms of attack one may use. Typically, we might refer to these as protocol fuzzings, a variety of different attacks which one might use to intentionally obfuscate traffic that is seen by our firewall or IPS. Now, the question is, why would we do this? Well, modern firewalls and intrusion prevention systems work predominantly based on signatures. they attempt to match signatures against the data streams that they see on an inbound or outbound basis, looking for matches, and if they find a match, declare that data stream to be contaminated, that is, to contain a piece of malware. Well, the question then is there anything we could potentially do to a data stream, to a sequence of packets, which would make it difficult for current generation firewall or IPS to apply its signatures? And the answer is yes, regrettably yes. It turns out, Stonesoft, again, has been a leader in this research since the early 90s. There are more than 300 known evasions, and that boils down to approximately 800 million possible workable combinations. And when I say combinations in this case, what I'm referring to is when one applies multiple different evasions, perhaps at multiple different protocol layers, say at the IP layer, TCP layer, HTTP layer. When one applies multiple evasions at multiple different protocol layers, we typically refer to this as advanced evasions. So what happens? How can one protect against advanced evasions? Well, it turns out to do so, one must fully normalize traffic that one receives. By normalize, what I'm referring to is the ability to pull that traffic out of the data stream and strip out all the extraneous header information that may otherwise make it difficult for a firewall or IPS to be able to apply its signatures. Something as simple as sending packets with a small receive window, or sending packets out of order, or sending packets with one of those packets tagged as high priority data so it skips ahead of all the others. You might be surprised to learn that all current generation firewall and IPS systems are vulnerable to advanced evasions. At this point, there is only one company known to provide specific support against the 300 plus known distinct evasions and therefore their combinations, and that's Stonesoft. With regard to awards, Stonesoft has been vetted, our solutions have been vetted by NSS Labs, which has reviewed the capabilities of current and next generation firewall and IPS systems, and has found the Stonesoft system to be not only a good, strong firewall and IPS solution, but it has found us particularly effective with regard to evasions. Gartner has also recently awarded Stonesoft designation as a visionary leader with regard to intrusion prevention systems, in part due to our ability to deflect evasion attacks or attacks based on evasions, and in part due to our superior performance as a management system that supports IPS and firewall capabilities. Let's now go into some of the specific technology that's offered as part of the Stonesoft solution so you can see where we're going and what we're trying to accomplish and how our solutions, our technology solutions, can be used to improve the general security footprint of clients and potential future uses of this technology. The Stonesoft Management Center is really the key to the entire solution. And the solution that we propose, the endpoint solution that we propose is, of course, based on firewall, IPS, and SSL VPN engines, as I described before. There is a fourth component to this called Engine, or NGN. And the Engine solution is an appliance, a capability, security capability, that can be either a firewall or an IPS. And you can command it to be what you want at configuration time. In essence, this is an effort on Stonesoft's part to ensure that we allow for the maximum investment protection on the part of our customers by ensuring that the same code base be used for both our firewall and IPS systems, and that for those folks who purchase the NGN license, they are then able to reposition that same appliance as either a firewall or an IPS at will. This, of course, is useful because we will want to ensure that over the lifetime of an appliance, it can be used for whatever purpose an organization may wish to put it to. All Stonesoft security solutions are implemented both in physical and virtual form. So, for our firewall and IPS systems, as well as our SSL VPN capabilities, we provide these as appliances. We also can provide them as software which one can load on top of a general purpose operating system, such as the Windows Server environment, or within a virtual machine environment, such as VMware. So one can have our security engines in both physical or virtual form based on the environment that makes most sense for an organization. For those firms who want separate standalone appliances, you can have that. And for those organizations that want to implement their security in a virtualized form, that can be accommodated as well. Irrespective of whatever combination of physical or virtual security appliances one has, it is still all managed by the Stonesoft Management Center. And from Stonesoft Management Center's perspective, all firewall, IPS, and SSL VPN engines, as well as the engine and the NGN configuration, they're all first-class citizens. They're all managed and handled and administered in the same way. The Stonesoft architecture starts with the management server. Again, the management server is a single pane of glass through which all of this is managed. And the management server typically, although not mandatorily, is co-located with a log server. One can have up to 5 management servers in an active standby arrangement. Again, this would be typical for larger environments that want to ensure that management of security systems, of endpoint security, firewall, and IPS and SSL VPN access engines remain functional in the event of failure. Log servers as well can be replicated. One can have as many log servers as one pleases. One possible reason why one might wish to have multiple log servers is because log servers serve as the accumulation engines of events that are reported by Stonesoft security engines. If we have remote sites which themselves throw off events such as potential attacks that have been experienced or status with regard to the devices or possible attacks, we probably want to log locally and then only pull that information back to the management center in the event that analysis is required. This saves on precious WAN bandwidth for those organizations which find themselves distributed over a large geography. The management server receives information from and commands, that is, provides policy information, rule sets, and the like, to all the various engines, which in turn also pass their status, their updates, and the events and alerts which are captured to whichever log server they look to store that information. In the event that a log server should become unavailable, the security engines themselves will safe store that information on their own solid-state drives until such time as the log server or a backup to it becomes available. Third-party devices, such as Cisco routers, Juniper switches, and so on and so forth, can feed information into Stonesoft log servers using the syslog format. Common event logging format, a variety of common logging formats are supported for both inbound services and outbound services as well. The log servers are also able to export information into other systems, such as SIM platforms, security information and event management systems, such as Q1, ArcSight, Envision, and the like. This is typically done through the syslog format. The management server is managed by management clients, and the clients themselves are Java-based, meaning that there is nothing to install on the client platform. That client platform may be a Windows system, Macintosh. It could be virtually any platform running the Java execution environment. The management client is the authorizations that are granted to a management client are fine-grained, so it is possible for any single management, or that is any given administrator, to be given specific administration rights over specific firewall engines or groups of those engines. So an administrator uses an administrative client. Again, that is a Java-based solution. So fresh copy comes down each and every time an administrator logs in to the management server, and that each administrator has their own specific credentials and capabilities that are granted to them by the management server to administer all or a subset of security engines and systems that are involved in a Stonesoft security solution. The management server also works with a web portal server. The web server portal is an optional component which provides a read-only access into log information and event information via a web portal to users who may need some visibility into what's happening within the Stonesoft security environment, but perhaps not the ability to affect policy and make changes to the configurations that are keeping the enterprise safe and secure. This web portal interface is particularly useful to keep management informed as to what those individuals responsible for IT security within an organization are doing, as well as a means by which an MSSP provider can provide updates to their clients as to how they are using the Stonesoft Management Center to manage firewall, IPS, and SSL VPN engines that are providing services to specific individual customers. Another optional component that is offered by Stonesoft is the authentication server. Now, the management server itself can natively have a conversation with other authentication engines such as LDAP and Active Directory. The authentication server exists as an additional bridge to provide more robust remote access to external authentication sources. This is useful to ensure that the rights and roles of administrators within the management server, within the Stonesoft Management Center, are designated not just within the management server itself, which of course is possible based on its own LDAP database, but also driven externally by, say, Active Directory. And in this way, the practical upside of that is when it's time to send a user an alert, an administrator an alert saying that something needs to be looked at, rather than just send it to a user or a group of users, it can be sent to the user who's actually within a particular group, who's actually on duty, driven based on user identities and group identities held by external authentication services and identity services such as Active Directory. The Stonesoft solution features the ability to unify the configuration of rules and policies across a number of different engines. What this ultimately means is that irrespective of whether or not we're talking about physical or virtual appliances, again, for firewalls, IPS and IDS systems, and SSL VPN remote access portals. It doesn't matter whether or not they're physical or virtual, they can all be managed the same way. It doesn't matter whether or not we wish to support these for one client or multiple divisions within a client or multiple clients, again, all supported the same way. It also means we can reuse configuration components. One can, for example, come up with a policy which describes how social media is used within an organization, and then reuse that policy as a sub-policy again and again and again across multiple different firewalls within an organization, or offered to multiple different clients who are coming to an MSSP provider for support of their security environment. Stonesoft also offers workflow capability within its notification system, so that if an event occurs, that event is then provided to user or users in an orderly fashion. A user can be notified by email, by cell phone text message, and if that user does not respond within a fixed period of time, then alert or notification can be escalated. The process by which this occurs is highly scripted and can be configured at will. So in essence, what we're doing here is ensuring that for all of our products, that components are reusable, that notification of events makes sense and is acted upon in a fashion which can ensure that events are handled in a timely fashion. And we also provide, as part of this unified configuration, advanced search mechanisms. Everything within our environment is, I would describe this as an infinite drill down. You can keep drilling down further and further and further. In essence, almost in a circular fashion, one finds it hard to get lost with our environment because one can always come back to the events that are causing issues, the rules that are associated with that with those events that were captured and the policies which contain those rule sets and therefore need to be managed. Stonesoft supports syslog both for forwarding and for and for event consumption. The upside of this is that in addition to being able to absorb events from external devices such as Cisco switches and Juniper routers and so on and so forth, one can also export in syslog format to a variety of external devices, be it Snort or ArcSight or Q1 or RSA Envision or the normal suspects one might have in terms of log processing and analysis engines. We also support common event logging format. Actually, we support a variety of common formats useful for integration with SIM systems and, in fact, support out-of-the-box integration with common SIM products. So for those organizations that are considering installing a security information and event management environment or already have such a platform in place, we do provide that integration. It should be noted, however, that Stonesoft Management Console's functionality is perhaps 90% of what a typical SIM might provide. If you haven't already invested in the implementation or the acquisition implementation of a SIM, one might instead consider the functionality that the Stonesoft Management Center offers. Perhaps that SIM expense can be an expense that you forego because most of what you'll require and all of what you would need would be found within the SMC. In order to provide regulatory compliance, one must need to be able to capture information in a trustworthy fashion and be able to report on it in a robust and trusted fashion. Stonesoft supports the ability to capture logs over a number of log servers and supports the capture of that information in a coordinated time-stamped fashion, meaning that we can piece together events that occur spread across log servers on a global basis and spread across security engines on a global basis, and therefore be able to build a coherent picture of the events that have happened to an organization, all the attacks, all the vectors that come into that firm, and allow them to be pieced together in an ordered fashion so one can see the full context of what is actually happening. This audit logging allows us to be able to save information which is suitable for use in the event that an organization finds themselves needing to provide evidence against individuals or firms or even governments which have attempted to breach its security and gain access to its proprietary information. Stonesoft provides within its management system the ability to take snapshots of policies and elements which are used to configure security engines and to save these for whatever time frame that you want. Likewise, logs can also be saved for whatever time period the customer desires based on however much disk one wishes to provide. One can therefore establish a history of how the devices were secured, what those rules were that were securing them, who made modifications to those rule sets, when and why they did so, for as far back in time as desired. One can also tag elements with metadata so as to be able to provide some additional context for administrators in the future as to why things were configured and administered as they are. This all is used in support of regulatory compliance to provide that detailed audit trail as to what's happening, why it's happening, and who did it. The ability to provide situational awareness is also a key aspect of the Stonesoft solution. It's not just enough to know, for example, that you're experiencing a potential inbound attack against a server. One might be curious to know from where that attack is coming from. For example, a successive series of login requests against the system from the local user is perhaps indicative of that user having forgotten the password. That same sort of action, if observed from an unauthorized third party, perhaps in a foreign land, might be more indicative of a exhaustive password attack. That is, geolocation is kind of important. So from this perspective, Stonesoft tries to provide situational awareness based on not only time of date, quality of service involved, but the location and the systems being used to access and the systems being accessed resources. We also provide the ability to provide mathematical computation as to what's happening within the system. So we have rule counters and event counters. And the usefulness of this is to understand which rules are effective and those which aren't being reached, and the statistics of what users are doing, or what external users and internal users are doing in terms of their ability to access remote resources and to be able to use those resources in either an authorized or an attempt to use them in an unauthorized fashion as well. As I already noted previously, the Stonesoft Security Management Console can absorb third-party events, meaning that we can include them in our analysis and alerts. Therefore, if an external device is capable of generating an alert, syslog event alert, and the Stonesoft Management Center absorbs that alert, absorbs that event, we can alert on it. Likewise, this is also true for SNMP events that occur as well. The installation of security engines across an organization can be a daunting task, particularly if the organization is geographically dispersed. As I noted, the Stonesoft Management Center is capable of managing up to 2,000 security engines. So for those organizations which are large, or for those MSSPs which provide service to a large customer base with multiple firewall and IPS engines themselves, the process of installation becomes important, and the efficiency of the installation becomes very important. Stonesoft supports the ability to create a configuration, a policy, and be able to push it out to as many firewalls at once as is desired. In essence, the ability to be able to push firewall policies and updates to multiple different firewalls at, say, multiple different remote office locations at once is a capability which we support. We also support the ability to provide auto updates, so engines can receive updates for their anti-spam, anti-filtering, antivirus information, as well as their right cloud URL web filtering information, configuration information. Plus, the Management Center can be configured to automatically absorb and to alert users to the availability of new software for each of the appliances or virtual appliances. The installation of remote systems can be done not only using a USB device or done locally using a local console, but can also be done using what we call the installation cloud. If, for example, one wishes to be able to configure a system, but one doesn't have all the information appropriate for it, yet one can configure the appliance to look to the installation cloud for instruction, distribute that device to a remote location, and then sometime in the future, from the Stonesoft Management Console at a completely separate location, that installation cloud can be instructed on how to configure that remote firewall or IDS IPS platform. So, for example, an initial configuration from a management center can be uploaded to the installation cloud, which, when a remote site, firewall or IPS system comes online, that remote site will absorb that configuration and now have information about its addressing and how it should look to the outside world and to which management center it should look to for policy information. Once it has received its initial configuration, that remote site, that remote firewall or IPS can contact the SMC, and from that SMC gain its security policy and go online. So by using Stonesoft's installation cloud, it is possible for an organization which needs to be able to distribute firewall and IPS systems to remote and probably unmanaged locations where there may not be a systems administrator of any sort, to be able to distribute those systems to these remote locations and to have them ensure that they become properly configured without having foreknowledge of the networking and foreknowledge of the policy to be applied prior to the distribution of that device. Now, remote upgrades of the software that is actually running within an appliance is, again, completely configurable in terms of when that happens. Stonesoft appliances maintain two separate images of their configuration, the current image and the immediately prior image. In the event that an incorrect image, an image of, say, rules and policies that cause the device to become inaccessible or unstable, that device, after a configurable period of time, will automatically revert to the prior policy, so as to ensure that a remote device won't brick, that is, won't become inoperable, requiring human intervention to address. It is also noteworthy that the configurations that are sent to these systems, only the deltas need to be sent. Only the changes that need to be made, only the updates are actually conveyed. It is also possible to manually, that is to select through the management center, to compel a firewall or IPS system to roll back to a prior installation. This is, again, particularly useful if one is trying out a rule set and found that the policy which embodies those rules is inappropriate for a site and one needs to roll back. The ability to, again, do auto updating and to be able to push policy automatically is a natural part of being able to ensure that management of remote systems, and potentially a significant number of remote systems, is handled with as little possible human interaction. We want to try to reduce the workload of the IT administrators, not increase it. Well, that brings us to the end of the presentation. I would suggest that if you'd like more information, to please reach out to Stonesoft. Our headquarters are in Atlanta, Georgia, and we have a presence online at www.stonesoft.com. From that location, you can get good information as to all our products. You can request a demo environment. You can reach out to our sales staff, who will be more than happy to review with you your options and your particular needs and configurations, and perhaps help you in achieving better, more secure security footprint for your organization. Thanks for listening.